wants not to allow you. And I particularly remember one security guard belonging to that group of security guards of the wife. And his name, I read his name patch, and it was Benigno Aquino, named after Senator Dina. And they had their long firearms, and it was a very tension-filled situation because of the three sets of his security guards having different interests that they were protecting. And so after a few minutes of attempting and failing to go inside the building, I told our client, the representative of the husband, we cannot go inside. We had to leave. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what would happen. And that led me to a process of reflection and reevaluation. Because at that time, I said I could have been killed. And in the line of duty. And what was I doing? I was working as a lawyer. And I was working in a big case. And that case was about a husband and a wife quarreling about their properties. And I said to myself, would I want to be killed in that situation? And I said, no, I was not bothered so much by the thought that I could have been killed at that time, but by the thought that I could have been killed as a lawyer in the line of work, doing that particular work. And I said, that was not the kind of lawyering that I wanted to do. And so I left CSIP Salazar after 1.5 years. Again, as I said, after a number of other incidents. So I joined Saligan. At that time, another Atenean lawyer, the late Attorney Roberto Gana, Bobby Gana, was the executive director of Saligan. So I joined Saligan, and I was assigned to the labor unit, and that started my involvement in the labor sector and in many other sectors of the poor. It was a total change of lifestyle for me. I remember I would leave my house, and my neighbors would ask, wala kang pasok? Because I would be in jeans, in maong, and t-shirt. It was a culture shock for me. In CSIP Salazar, I had a room of my own. I had a secretary. In Saligan, we had a small office for all 10 lawyers. We just have one secretary. We don't even call her a secretary. It was a change in the work. It was a change in the lifestyle. I started understanding what it meant to be an alternative lawyer. I started working with the poor. I spent my first 2 Christmases in picket lines because I was assigned to strikes, and the strikes happened during the holiday season. The work in Saligan and in many other groups in the alternative law groups would entail litigation. It would still handle cases, but a lot more than that. It would entail more than going to courts, more than preparing pleadings, more than arguing cases. It would entail, as Dr. Benson said earlier, capacity building, building the capacity of individuals, building the capacity of communities. The justice system, the law, is not trusted by many people. It's more frustration, it's more fear of the law. A document that a poor farmer would receive would be a threat to the farmer, even before the farmer would understand what that one-page document would say. So our work entailed educating the people, telling them what their rights are, but education in the sense of empowering them, education in the sense of helping them act as a community, as an organization, as a group, in order to assert their rights and in order to avail of the remedies available in the justice system. And that was the hard part of the work, because we are building not only the capacity, we are also building the trust of the people in our system. And many of us had difficulties doing that, because even the lawyers and even many of us would sometimes lose our trust and our hope that the justice system could do things, could do justice for many of us and for the poor. Many lawyers would be at the end user side of the legal system. And that would mean working with what laws are available. working with laws that had been formulated by legislators in government. Alternative lawyers would be actively involved in crafting laws. Alternative lawyers would be actively involved in formulating laws, working with legislators, working with executive officials, pushing for reforms in our laws, pushing for reforms in the legal system. So we do a lot of balancing. We do a lot of different things. We change our attire, we change our language, depending on who our audience is. We go to an urban poor community, we cannot go there in a Barong Tagalog. But we go to Congress, we go to the Senate, we appear in a congressional hearing, or we argue before the courts. We have to be in our Barong. We speak different languages. We have to know the dialects. We have to learn Cebuano. We have to learn Ilonggo. We have to learn different native languages because we travel and because people would understand the law in their own native languages. I worked with Saligan for 14 years. And in 2007, I decided that I would want to work for the coalition. I would want to work for Saligan, but also for other organizations that are doing the same type of work. And this is the alternative law groups. I became the coordinator in 2008, and this is already my third year as coordinator of the alternative law groups. And the coalition has given me the opportunity to work on a number of programs that would engage directly the Supreme Court and many other institutions in our society. We are now working with the Armed Forces of the Philippines. We are working with the Philippine National Police. We are working with law schools. We are working with government. Earlier, Attorney Medina said that one misconception, one wrong impression is that human rights lawyers are rebels. No, we work with government. And we do a lot of partnerships, we do a lot of projects with government. But whenever we work with government, it is very clear to us, and we make it very clear to them, to the government officials, that we bring the interests of the poor, that we represent the poor. But we want them to be closer to the justice system. We want the administrators of justice to be closer to the poor. The theme of the conference is mobilizing communities, attacking the challenge of poverty. And let me say that lawyers have a big responsibility. Administrators of justice have a big responsibility in mobilizing communities in attacking the poverty challenge. Poverty in the Philippines is not simply because of the absence of resources. It is primarily because of injustices committed against the majority of our population. And unfortunately, in many cases, it is the legal system, the laws, that are being used as instruments to cause injustices. The challenge of poverty has been here for several years. What we are bringing to the poor is not just hope, but actual remedies. And we are hoping that we can translate their enhanced capacity to access the justice system so that they can, for themselves, assert their rights and they can claim for themselves the justice that they deserve so that they can liberate themselves from the poverty that we have. Maraming salamat.
May I invite Marlon and Chochoy to take the seats here so that you can see them for the remaining period for clarification questions that you may have in your mind. So kindly address yourself to any of the two. Identify also yourself for the information of the public. Since we don't have as much space for me to move around, please just rise and then speak a little louder. Okay. So thank you. Anyone may begin. There are no recitations here, no flashcards, so please don't feel intimidated. Okay. Yes, please.
I don't know much about lawyers, but I want to know how much does an alternative lawyer make in a year?
Let me give you an idea. When I was in the law office, I was one of the youngest lawyers, and there were 80 lawyers at that